I have a whole bunch of eggs, and I'm gonna put them in my cooler. My cooler is an incubator. We built it. The particular incubator that I'm going to show you how to build today has already had ducklings and chicks hatch from it, and obviously we just put some more eggs in there today. This is probably the 6th incubator that we have made out of a cooler. Each one is a little bit different depending on what we have available to us at the time and the particular cooler that we're using. This green one though is the first time that we've built a 12-volt incubator. Now, this is a hands-on project. There's gonna be some stuff you're gonna be doing. You're also gonna need to know a little bit about wiring. If you have any questions about this at all, or can't find what you're looking for, or have a little bit different situation and wanna know what to do, post your questions in the comments and we'd be happy to help you out. All right, let's go build this thing. Today we are going to take this cooler and we're gonna turn it into an incubator. So the first thing we have to figure out is which cooler we are going to use. This is a really old one. It's kind of beat up around the outside, but the inside is good, usable, so that's fine. We have this cooler. The only issue I see with this one is it's got these cup holders, which gives us less space for the stuff that we need to do on the top. You probably want to be able to see what's going on inside the incubator, so for this cooler, we cut 2 pieces of plexiglass. Most coolers have an air gap in the top, and that's why you're generally going to need 2 pieces of plexiglass to make 1 window. So on the inside of the cooler, you're going to trace that piece of plexiglass, and then you're going to go 1 inch in, and you're going to make another square. And then you're going to connect all the dots. And then you're going to drill through the 4 corners of that inside square. Woo! Now you're going to connect those dots on the outsides of those dots. And now you're going to cut it out. Come on! Do that. Now you've made the hole that's going to be where your window is going to be. And so now we're going to take the plexiglass and we're going to drill little holes that the rivets are going to go into, but be careful. As you can see, I'm very stressed here because I was afraid I was going to crack the plexiglass. I cracked it.
So you don't do that. That'll happen.
But I only did it once. I was very lucky.
Did it! I did it!
Clean up the edges if you need to, and then you're going to apply caulk around the outside. Make sure you fill in any divots or gaps or anything. Then we're going to put that plexiglass on there using a couple rivets to kind of hold it in place so you can get it to the right spot. Then we're going to fit the rest of the rivets in there. And we're going to pop the rivets down. There you have the top. Now we're pretty much going to do the same thing on the inside. But for this, drill a hole and then stick a rivet in there, just to kind of keep it in place as you're drilling the rest of the holes. Take all the rivets out, peel that plastic off. You're going to probably need more caulk on the inside because there was bigger gaps on our cooler. Fill it in good, and then put that plexiglass on top. Put the rivets in, make sure everything lines up, goosh it down really good, and then pop those rivets down. Then we decided we needed a little branding for our homemade incubator.
That's a branded homemade incubator, y'all.
So there is a product they sell that is the heating element and the fan all in one, and we have tried that one out and it's a little bit easier, but it draws more power. So we've got it hooked up. Here you can see this one is drawing this many amps. So for you off-gridders, we're gonna show you a way to do this. It's gonna draw way less amps for you. You're gonna need a thermostat or a temp controller. You're gonna need a fuse and a fuse holder. You're gonna need a heating element. You're going to need a 12-volt fan with a fan shield. You're going to need LED strip lights. You're going to need a AC to DC power adapter or the appropriate ends to hook to a battery if you want to run this as an off-grid 12-volt system. You're also going to need a random piece of aluminum, which is what we had to use as a heat shield. Now pay attention to this video because there's obviously things we forgot to put in this clip here. I know one thing you are going to need to buy is a female DC power plug that's going to go out the back of the incubator. That's what you're going to plug into if you're using the power inverter or you're going to hook up to a battery. So now we're basically going to build a mini space heater for our incubator. So the first thing that we're doing is marking some holes here on this piece of metal because that is where the actual heater is going to attach to this piece of metal, which is kind of acting as a heat shield, but also a way that makes it easy for us to mount it to the lid of the cooler. So that's what these first two holes are for. Then we're going to mark two other holes on the opposite corners, and that's where the heat shield is actually going to be attached to the lid. So the first two holes were for the heater being mounted to this piece of metal, and then the other two holes are for the piece of metal to be mounted to the lid of the cooler. So there you go. So now we're basically going to start building this little mini space heater. So this is a fan shield, I believe is what it's called. It looks to me like a burner on a stove. Now we're going to take these heating elements and we're going to find a little piece of wire, whatever you've got laying around. We actually had copper wire, and we're going to wind the wire around the heating elements and we're going to attach it to this stove top burner thing. And we just use copper wiring because that's what we had. Fencing wire is not going to work here because it's going to be way too thick. Whatever you've got laying around, that's how we do it on the homestead. Twist it on there, make sure it is well secured. Cut the ends of that wiring off so it's not hanging down. Do the same thing over again with the other heating element. Make sure that all those blue wires are going the same way. That's going to make it a lot easier for you later. Now we're going to put the stack together. Put a couple nuts on each bolt to act as a spacer. Then put the heating elements on that you put together. Then put another bigger nut to act as another spacer. Then put the fan on and make sure that the wires of the fan are going the same way as the wires of the heating element. Otherwise you're going to have to take it apart again. Then put another nut, and now you've built the little mini space heater contraption that's going to warm up your incubator. So this is the one that we put together. And you can see that it is drawing way less amps. So you can buy the one that's pre-built if you want to do it a little bit easier, but know that it draws a little bit more power. You do have this option if you want to get a little bit more creative. Using a scrap of what we cut out of the cooler lid at the beginning, this scrap will eventually become what a plug or a fuse is going to be mounted into. But first we're going to trace this square. And then, like we did with the window, we're going to go in a little bit and make a second smaller square. Then we cut out that second smaller square, but only through the first top layer of the lid. Don't go through both layers.
Like that. Going inside here?
Yeah, right there. Great.
Then we're going to put a couple spacer nuts to make up for the bolt heads that are on the top. And we're going to mount this to the underside of the cooler lid, next to the hole that we just made on the top side. At this point, when we were building the incubator, we realized we forgot to attach the strip of lights to our little mini space heater contraption, so we went ahead and did that. We cleaned the side of the fan off with rubbing alcohol, I believe, and then we stuck the strip of lights around the fan. Now we're going to make sure all the wires are out of the way, and we're going to drill a hole next to the heating contraption into the square that we cut out in the top of the lid. So you do want this to go through. Then we're going to shove all those wires through that hole out through the square in the top.
Oh, the wires. All right.
Now this is where we're going to get into some wiring. Now this isn't a wiring 101 video or a basic electricity video, so while I am going to let a decent amount of video clips play here to show you how I did it, all I'm going to say is that the fan and the lights get wired to a constant power, and then the heater, or the heating elements, get wired to the thermostat. We also did wire a fuse before the plug so that if something happened, the fuse would blow instead of a bigger issue taking place. So when this is all put together and you are looking at it, you're going to have a plug out the back, then a fuse holder with a fuse, and then everything else, the light, the fan, the heater, the thermostat, is after that in the string, if that makes sense. Now you're going to drill a hole in the back of the lid, and this is where our plug is going to come out to go to our power. Now we're working on wiring the fuse to the plug. Now you're going to drill a big hole below where the thermostat is for its wires from the fuse holder to come up and be connected to the thermostat, but only drill through the top layer of the lid. And if you're really lucky, while you're trying to shove all those wires around in really tight spaces and through little holes, you might have the help of Poofy Kitty. Then shove the plug out the back through the hole that you drilled. And then we're going to use lots of hot glue to make everything stick and to help seal it up.
T-Rex, honest to God.
As far as wiring the thermostat, you're going to have to do that per the manufacturer instructions. There are lots of different thermostat options out there, and obviously they're going to come with their own situation depending on how fancy you want to go. So if you're not into doing much wiring yourself, or you don't have much experience yourself with wiring, grab your closest smart wiring buddy and have them help you with that part. Shove the temp sensor back down into the incubator through the little hole you made before. We're going to do lots of hot gluing to stick things down and seal things up. And we did hot glue because that way if there's an issue later that we need to fix, we can still get the pieces off to do that repair instead of using something like JB Weld. You can use a little zip tie to put some of those wires together inside to clean it up a bit. Then hot glue and seal. Lots of hot glue, you guys. Put a dab of hot glue on the inside wall of the cooler and stick the wire of the heat sensor to it so the heat sensor isn't flopping around the incubator while you've got your eggs in there.
Just like that. Now what?
Now stick a fuse in the fuse holder and you should be ready to rock, right? Now, yes, in this video, we do show this as using the power adapter to plug the incubator into a regular outlet, but off-gridders will know that you can run this off your choice of battery systems by wiring a male DC power plug connector and then connecting that to your battery setup of choice.
And then you plug this in,
Yep.
and it should turn on.
Yep.
It should. It's not doing anything. It turned on. Look at that! It's alive!